Hare Krishna. Hello guys, welcome back to our Brainy Voyage YouTube channel. In this video, I am going to create a simple input form without use of HTML and just by using JavaScript. Right? If you can see that in our index.html page, there is nothing except the skeleton form of HTML. Right? And I have linked my script.js file in the HTML page. Right? Now let's just dive into the script.js file. Okay, at first I'm going to create a necessary elements here. Okay, right. So at first I'm going to initialize a container, right, so that we can style our container as we want, right. So I'm going to take a container here and I'm going to create an element here, right. I'm going to take a document as my reference and I'm going to create an element by using create element, and I'm going to create a div here, right. So I should pass div here, right. This will create a div container in our web page, right. But this will not reflect in the web page now itself. It has some procedure to do. Okay, now let's also create some labels and some input tags and a submit button also, right. So I'm going to take another one as const. I'm going to take an username label first. Okay, I'm going to take username label. I'm going to pass it as document dot create element and I'm going to create a label here, right. That's how we create a label in JavaScript. Okay, now I'm going to create an input field here which is an username input, right. So I'm going to write this, type it like this, and I'm going to create an element here, right. Document dot create element. I'm going to pass it as an input here, right. This will create an input tag in the container itself, right. So now we should create a password also, right. So I'm going to take a user password label equals to document dot create element. I'm going to create an label here, right. Now I'm going to create an user password input, right. You can create with any names here, but I'm creating this as an to understand, right. So I'm going to take an input here, sorry, to create an input here. Now we should create a button here, right. I'm going to take a button here and I'm going to initialize this as a button itself, right. I'm going to create a button here, right. This is how we create an elements in JavaScript, right. So by using the create element, we are going to create an elements in the document itself, right. This doesn't replicate in the web page here itself, right, because we didn't append it to the container, right. Sorry, I mean body, right. So we should append all these to the body, but before doing that we should also create the class names and we should set some attributes under text contents for the labels and for the placeholders and input tags and some functionality for the button also, right. So I will do the all things now and I will append these all elements into the body tag, right. So at first now we are going to create an classes here. Okay, I'm going to add classes to the elements, right. Okay, now at first we will create to an container here, right. I'm going to pass it as container dot class list dot add dot container here. Okay, I'm referencing a container and I'm going to add a class list by using the dot add method, and I'm placing the value as login container here, right. So I'm going to take a container dot class list dot add, and I'm going to pass the class name as login container here. Okay, this will add an class name to the container here, right. I should do all things for the class username label and for the input and for the password label, password input and button, right. So I will do all things at a time so you can think that up in a bit, right? So I'm going to create for the button also here, right? I forgot the username also. Username dot input dot class list dot add, and I'm going to pass the class name login input itself, right? I'm going to create an for the button also here, right? Button dot class list dot add. I'm going to pass it as an login button. Okay, this is how we add the class list to the elements, right? So now we will set an attribute values also, right? So I'm going to set in some margin styles for the container, and I'm going to set a username label text also, right? So it should replicate what the text is without using the label text, and there is no use of using the label here, right? So I'm going to pass some text content to the user label also, and for the password label also, right? And I'm going to set the placeholders for the username input and for the password name input also, right? Okay, so I'm going to add attributes here. Okay, now I'm going to set an styling for the container, right? So I'm going to set an styling dot margin, container dot style dot margin. This will set an margin to the container here, right? I'm going to set it as an 30px, right? And I'm going to place the username label also, right? A username label dot text content, right? Text content is will be as username here, right? And username input dot type, we should represent the type also, right? It should be an email or it should be a text. I will prefer using the text here because we can also include emails also, right, in text, right? So I'm going to place the text here. I'm going to add the same for the password labels also. User password label dot text content equals to password, right? And also for the password input type, right? Password input dot type is password, right? And for the button I'm going to set a text content called a login, right? So button dot text content equals to submit or login, right? I'm going to pass it as login here, right? This is how we set all things here. Okay, I passed the username label for as username and password for the password. I set the type of the input fields, and I forgot to add placeholders, right? So I'm going to place placeholders here, username dot input dot placeholders, right? Placeholder equals to, and I'm going to set it is an username input, right? So I'm going to place it as your username, right? And also for the password here, user password input dot placeholder equals to your password. Okay, this is how we set the attributes also, right? And it's the time to append the all the required elements, right? So I'm going to append each one into the container first, right? So here username label, username input, username password label, password input, all should be appended to the container, right? At first we need to append all those to a div content, and we should update that div content to the body tag, right? We can do that by using this, right? So I'm going to append the elements here. Okay, to append we need to pass what should be append, right? If there is an body, we should append right it body here, and at first I'm going to append it to the container, right? So that I'm going to consider container here, and I'm going to append style into the container first, right? At first I'm going to pass username label, right? This should be in order itself, and again I'm going to pass container, and I'm going to append child, and I'm going to pass username input, right? And similarly for all the remaining items, right? So I'm going to pass an container, and I'm going to append child. Now here comes user password label, and next container dot append child, I'm going to pass user password input, and I'm going to append button here, right? Dot append child, I'm going to pass button here. This will append all the elements into the container, but we haven't appended the container to the body here, right? So I'm going to import the document here, and I'm going to add the append child to the body, right? So I'm going to take document here, and I'm going to take body from the document, and I'm going to append child to the container here, right? This will append the container to the index.html page. See, if I save the file, all the things have been reported in the web page, right? So you can see that all this functionality will work fine, and password should also working fine, right? And if I click on this login button, there is nothing happening here, right? So I'm going to write in some click function for the button, and I'm going to console log the username and password that I have given, right? So I'm going to take sub button here, right? Button dot add event listener, and I'm going to pass and click function here, right? Whenever the user presses on the button, then only the action should be performed, right? So I'm going to write an arrow function here, and I'm going to get the values from the username and user input and user password, right? So I'm going to pass it like this, and I'm going to console log the password and console.log of username. I'm going to pass some gap here. Okay, I'm going to pass password also, right? Now if I save this file and I open the console in my web page, I should see, change this, and I will open the console here. See, and I'm going to pass username as Brainy and password as Voyage, right? Here the password is invisible, but whenever I presses on the login button, it should be visible on the console, right? So I'm going to click on the login button here. See, I got Brainy and Voyage as in the console. Spelling error, it is working fine, right? So this is how we create a simple input form using script.js file and without anything in the HTML page, right? So the basic idea of this is to understand how we should create an elements in the JavaScript without using the HTML. This will be very helpful in many more further cases, but not in these small things, right? Thank you for watching. Hare Krishna. We will meet up in another video. Thank you.